This evening's broadcast is brought to you by Home Guys Home Services. Broadcast of Port Angeles News. I'm your host, Arthur Wojnowski. We begin this broadcast with a look at the efforts of volunteers building a home. But this is no ordinary home. This one is a tiny home, and it's built on a single axle trailer.
Today, we are building a tiny model home on a trailer to be used at events, parades, and trying to get the awareness out of what we're trying to do, which is build a tiny home transition community right here in Collin County for our local homeless veterans. And not only do we have a place for them to stay transitionally, but also going to offer any kind of recovery or therapy they may need, whether it's PTSD, addiction recovery, kind of get them back on their feet, active.
What's the first step going to be here today?
Today, we're getting the walls up. And tomorrow, the walls and windows are going up, the doors are going up, the deck I think is going to go up, and then tomorrow it's going to be paint and roof.
Yeah. How long do you guys expect for this to be until it's completed?
We'll be done Sunday. Tomorrow. Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay, wow.
2 days.
Very ambitious.
Yeah, and these are all volunteers who come and help us today. So,
awesome.
Yeah, we partnered up with Peninsula College, and they got some leaders and for their programs.
All right, well, thank you.
This is a popular trend across the country, with people downsizing and going back to a more simple lifestyle. There's a growing trend in being without a large mortgage and a less expensive home, time spent cleaning and maintaining a home being reduced. A typical home averages between 2,100 and 2,600 square feet, and with a shrinking household family size, the popularity of owning a small home on a parcel of land has many people yearning for a simpler lifestyle. There are some challenges to those who wish to accomplish this within city limits. Most urban areas do not make this easy or flat out do not allow this type of dwelling unit. They see very little difference between a tiny home and a travel trailer, which is also not permitted to be a permanent residence within most city limits. On the subject of homes, we now go to Sunland for the third and final presentation by Jim Buck, Camping in Your Home, who was also the recipient of a 2018 Governor's Volunteer Service Award.
A letter from Governor Inslee to Jim Buck in recognition for an award he just received. Okay, this says, Dear Jim, I was pleased to learn that you have been selected as a recipient of the 2018 Governor's Volunteer Service Award, Disaster Preparedness and Response category. It is always a delight to recognize citizens who are making a positive difference in communities throughout our state. When you volunteer, you become part of something greater than yourself and add to the strength and resilience of our communities and friends in need. I applaud your spirit of action, which speaks volumes about your character and priorities and reminds us that people of vision and compassion can and do make a difference in our world. Washington is truly blessed to have engaged citizens who are service-minded and who see volunteerism as a way of life. And Mr. Buck certainly does that. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? It is a powerful question and one that I know you take to heart. I am inspired by your selflessness, and I hope that your example will motivate others to give back to their communities in a meaningful way. Thank you for your hard work and dedication, and congratulations on an honor well deserved.
Jim Buck put a lot of time and effort into emergency preparedness and is well deserved of this recognition. Now we continue with some important information from the presentation. The first step in sheltering in place is a home assessment.
The first thing you need to do after the earthquake or after whichever disaster we're dealing with is you need to assess your structure. And if it looks like this, you might want to consider moving in with the in-laws or even the outlaws. And seriously, this shelter right here, this house is capable of providing you with building materials for an emergency shelter. You wouldn't want to be inside of this. And generally speaking, if you're going to go ahead and assess your shelter, if you're in a masonry building, masonry, unreinforced or whatever, brick buildings, cinder block, you need to be thinking of going someplace else. It should not survive this event. Frame buildings generally will stay up, although they may come off with their foundation. Mobile homes or manufactured homes, if they're anchored properly, should be okay.
Once you have assessed the structural quality of your home, you may need to make some repairs.
The first thing you got to do is repair your shelter. And what you're trying to do here is create an artificial environment so you don't have to camp outside and set up a tent on a night like tonight. Okay, if you have one room in the house, or the garage, or the motor home, or wherever, that is shedding water and will stop the wind from getting at you, then this is a place you need to start thinking about making your safe place. So that means you may have to patch windows or holes in the wall from the chimney. You may have to look where the doors have had some problems and get after that, make the place weather tight, and then go ahead and make your safe place in there. Now, there's some handy items to have for the repair. Plumber's tape. Plumber's tape with screws and nails, you can just about join anything where it won't fall apart. We have what we call the national flag of Joyce, blue tarp. We fly them proudly on every occasion. These come in real handy for covering up a hole in the roof, or if the roof has been somehow or other, separated. You got to have a place to keep, your windows for your bedding, your clothing, and your food from getting wet. Zip ties. Went on a caribou hunt in Alaska a couple of years ago. Took a bunch of these, never tied a knot the whole time I was there. And they're just miraculous for being able to tie things together, especially tying these down to nails or houses or things. Plastic Visqueen. You can do just about anything to make something weather tight with this stuff. Duct tape, and I stress duct, D-U-C-T tape. Duct tape, D-U-C-K tape, is nowhere near as good as the duct tape. So, this thing's capable of fixing airplanes. Had a guy bush pilot up in Alaska a couple of years ago, left some bait in his plane while he was out fishing, and a bear ate through the back end of the plane. And what to do? I can't, got no fabric on my airplane anymore. He had somebody fly in 2 cases of this and a case of lacquer. He wrapped the plane in duct tape and then lacquered over it and flew it back out until he could get it repaired. So, you get in here, this stuff, the pre-drilled angle iron, along with number 9 tie wire, and these Timberlock screws, you can just about reinforce anything that you have to with bracing to be able to go ahead and make it livable.
After securing your home from the elements, you will want to consider hygiene.
As far as cleaning up, this will be the next most important thing you do other than staying dry and warm. Is if you have your belongings have been tossed all over, your dishes have fallen out of your cupboard in your kitchen or your dining room, you got broken glass from your shower door or mirrors in your bedroom or bathroom. All of these are going to be much more hazardous to you after the earthquake than they would be tonight. Because after the earthquake, medical attention and the treatment for infections is going to be very, very sparse. It will be hard to come by because you're not going to be able to get to people, and they won't necessarily have the supplies to give you the antibiotics or whatever that you need to be treated. So you need to clean that shelter scrupulously and keep it that way. And you've got most of this material, home. Everybody pretty much has a broom and a mop. Wear gloves, scrub brush, soap, and lots of plastic heavy trash bags. And they've come in a lot more handy as we get going. I mean, it got to the point in some of the camping trips I've been on where we've made those things into raincoats. So you can do almost anything with them if you're creative.
Once you've assessed your home, closed it off to the elements, and are prepared to tackle sanitation, you may consider a closed-in safe space within your home.
So, you need to think about building a tent inside of your shelter. Now this tent was built by 4 guys for crazy Ludwig, the king of Bavaria. He lived in the Disneyland castle in Neuschwanstein, Germany. He had, even though this castle had steam heat, it was tough to keep warm, so he had curtains he could pull around the bed to keep cozy at night. And he also had a commode, so he didn't have to go outside to go to the bathroom, because he had plenty of servants to help take care of things. We'll talk more about the commode later. But anyway, he got to sleep in this thing for 2 nights before he got assassinated for bankrupting the country. So we think that you can find more affordable tents to pitch inside of your house. Now, the reason that you do this is, first of all, you've just created your safe place with your artificial environment, so it will be warmer and drier without the wind blowing through it and water going all over the place. Inside of this, it will be even warmer.
Another important thing to consider is water and its purity.
Water purification. This is a Sawyer water filter, about $100. They claim that you can get 140 gallons a day out of this thing. The best I've been able to get is 40. They're a little temperamental. You get this drill, you get 2 5-gallon buckets, you drill a hole with this in the first one, and you thread this hose on with that screw or bolt, and put your filter on the end of the hose, and it will gravity feed and purify your water from the top 5-gallon bucket to the bottom 5-gallon bucket. So it's good for a family, maybe 2 families. It does not meet the needs that we have for the shelter and Joyce, because we're trying to figure out how to get enough water for 300 people. And Red Cross tells you it takes about 1.1 gallons of water a day per person to keep you healthy. So think in terms of how much you have. If you have to, you can make field expedient gravel filters. You can filter through coffee filters and things like that. But you need to be aware, every one of these things has a little bit of risk to it. This will filter Giardia. This may, if you do it right. This Brita will not.
Once you have figured out how you will treat your water, you will need to think about your nutrition.
Now, as far as food supplies, this is a whole story in itself. Now, our first thing was we're going to feed everybody meals ready to eat. But meals ready to eat are designed for 20-something soldiers that are, burning 6,000 calories a day. And in the military, MRE stands for Meals Rejected by Ethiopians. So, were we to go ahead and use this, we would probably have to have about a tanker full of X-Lax and another tanker full of Preparation H for us. And the way that I finally killed this argument was I told the guy that wanted to just feed everybody MREs that it was going to be his job to prepare my 94-year-old mother-in-law with no teeth, MRE for her every day. We wanted to find out what we could actually buy in a store that we could eat, that we were used to eating, that wouldn't take an arm and a leg for us to do it. So, Knorr noodle fettuccine mix and a can of tuna fish, and suddenly you get tuna noodle casserole. Or up here, mac and cheese with a little can of ham, and suddenly you've got ham and mac and cheese. We finally got this down to where we could go ahead and each of us have a healthy meal for $1.09 a day, or $1.09 per meal per person. Now, if we were doing this with the Augustin stuff in the shelter, without the meat, we're dealing with about 78 cents a meal per person. So think about this. This right here is 7 days worth of food as a breakfast, basically oatmeal. You've got some type of casserole or soup for lunch and another one for supper. We'll get tired of casseroles, but when the Marines get here, they'll bring good stuff for us. But okay, all of that, by the way, fit in a 6-gallon bucket the first time we tried it. We haven't been able to repack it in there since, so back to kitties and doggies and morale. You know, you're going to need a morale booster just about every night, maybe a couple times a day. So think in terms of good stuff: popcorn, chocolate, and this should be in the medical portion of the thing. You know, in cowboy movies they treat wounds with it, things like that. But anyway, it's great trading stock too. But as far as the morale booster, think in terms of making yourself happy occasionally.
Other things to consider are lighting, heating, and fuel sources, as well as combating fire hazards that these cause. Other things to consider are communications and notifications, things such as walkie-talkies and hand crank radios. If you are interested in watching the full presentation, go to youtube.com and enter Port Angeles News in the search bar. Scroll down to Port Angeles News, click on the Videos tab, and then click on the Sunland Emergency Preparedness. And now let's take a look at the weather for the week. Friday, cloudy, high of 51, overnight of 41. Saturday, partly cloudy, high of 52, overnight of 49. Sunday, partly cloudy, high of 54, overnight of 41. Monday, cloudy, high of 61, overnight of 45. Tuesday, cloudy, high of 62, overnight of 42. Wednesday, cloudy, high of 59, overnight of 40. Thursday, rainy, high of 59, overnight of 45. And that's the weather for our week. It looks like we will have plenty of cloud cover for this upcoming week. Mayor Sissy Brooke proclaimed April 17th Arbor Day in the city of Port Angeles.
So now we're into the Ann Arbor proclamation. And so I am going to read this proclamation. This is one of those things that is going to get us to our Tree City USA requirements. And so we're grateful to have it. So here it is, Ann Arbor Day Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that the special day be set aside for planting trees, the planting of trees. And whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world with National Arbor Day celebration on April 27th, 2018. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion on our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees serve as city infrastructure, protecting and enhancing our 6 creek corridors, marine bluffs, open spaces, and contributing to our community's quality of life. And whereas trees are a renewable resource given to paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and the beauty of our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore I, Sissy Proof, Mayor of Port Angeles, do hereby proclaim April 27th, 2018 as Arbor Day in the city of Port Angeles, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to promote our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant and care for trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations.
City Council approved 2 grade to excavate a section of pipe along Marine Drive that had completely deteriorated.
I've got that one. So this is a continuation of the Marine Drive sewer project that was done last year. The original project was a slip line, the failing concrete pipe between the Mill Canal and pump station number 3, which is at Hill Street, the bottom of Hill Street. During the lining, we found that about almost 300 feet of pipe had collapsed. There was no roofing on the inside of the pipe. We had to stop and could not line that section of pipe. Deleted that section from the contract, the previous contract, and we are now moving forward to actually excavate the pipe and replace it. It's the only way forward at this point. Went out for request for proposals. The low bid was $125,000 by 2 grade. We're asking for your approval to move forward with this contract. And this will minimize and prevent future damage from the hydrogen sulfide gas that is coming from down the pressurized pipe along Edith's Hook. And with that, I can take any questions.
Any questions, guys? So I've got one. I was just wondering, in that when you're looking to replace that sewer, is there any need to upgrade that sewer to be even bigger or smaller, or is that just because it's a continuation, it should stay the same size, or?
No, there's no requirement to upgrade. This section of pipe is gravity. The pressurized pipe goes from the Coast Guard station down to the mill. At the mill, there's a catch basin manhole where then it goes to gravity down to pump station number 3, and it's of adequate size to handle the flow.
And even the expansion with the Coast Guard station and all that?
Yeah, we're looking at the sewer requirements of the Coast Guard station. The ships are not permanently stationed there. The building that is being constructed, for weapons storage, it's not a permanent bachelor quarters like you'd find, so the sewer will be minimal compared to the rest of the Coast Guard station.
Wonderful, thank you.
Council also approved the purchase of a new refuge truck.
The last vehicle approval of the evening is to replace a 2005 refuse truck, which will be surplused upon the arrival of the new one, assuming it gets approved tonight. We're expecting the new one if we order it, to be approved by 2018. And we're looking to get this purchased and under construction before steel prices escalate based on the tariff wars that could be happening in the near future. One item of note, Brian Coburn, my equipment manager, in the back, wave your hand. He's not expert on everything to do with equipment, so if you have any technical questions, he's there. But he went back and looked at the cost of the 2016 refuse truck, and he found out that between everybody sees the prices of these vehicles going up, but between 2016 and 2018, the cost of the exact same truck that we're buying now only went up about $700, which was a surprising fact that he was able to find out today. So we're getting a very good price, and with that I can take any questions you might have.
City Council approved expanding the work budget of the harbor cleanup.
Deputy Mayor, I will take this item tonight. or potentially liable party group. At this point, we are asking council to approve moving forward with work order number 3. That enables us to continue moving forward with the RIFS, or Remedial Investigation Feasibility Process. As you know, on April 6th, we did turn in a draft RIFS, and as part of that, we will have a back and forth with Department of Ecology, as well as an ongoing public process that we anticipate taking on this year. As part of that work effort, you'll see the group is cooperating on those costs. The cost to the city of Port Angeles anticipated for this year as part of work order number 3 is $118,160. This was budgeted in 2018, and we are asking for council to go ahead and approve and adopt work order number 3, expanding the scope of work and budget of the Environmental Services Agreement, and authorize the city manager to execute documents necessary and appropriate to implement work order number 3. Be happy to answer any questions.
With the remaining time, we will continue our interview with City Council member Jim Moran.
This bothers me no end that we get these continuing messages about how we have no housing shortages, no low-income housing, and then we turn around and put every bureaucratic barrier we can in front of people who are willing to spend 30, 40 hours a week building their own home, not asking for a handout, but we seem to want to put, they handed me the application, the stormwater application, last night before the meeting, and I was appalled, absolutely appalled. I would challenge the people that designed this to fill it out. They probably couldn't, and they expect these people that are trying to struggle and build their own home. Again, they're not asking for a handout, and all we do is put these barriers in front of this. I'm going to be viewing this Mount Angeles project, low-income housing, up on Lawrence on Friday. 8 years it took to turn a spade on that because of all the bureaucratic hurdles that were thrown in its way. And then on the other hand, people say, "Oh, we need more low-income housing," but then, oh, we got to have, if the water doesn't perk at a certain level, we'll stop everything. So you want to know what keeps me awake at night? That kind of stuff keeps me awake at night. That has been the big, since I've gotten involved and on the council, and more of this stuff I've been able to uncover. That really keeps me awake at night. I don't know if there's much, if anything, I can do about it, but that keeps me awake, and it also is a source of frustration to see Port Angeles being treated as if it were Bellevue as far as stormwater regulations go, and it's just, I don't know. Anyway, that's, I probably now won't be able to sleep tonight either. Thanks for bringing that up.
You're quite welcome. It'll help you fall asleep the next night.
Yeah, right.
So, I guess this kind of would be a question that I would have asked as a follow-up, but since it would be fair to say that would be something you would probably want to change right now, if I were to ask you what would be the number one thing you would change right now would be regulations. So how about in turn, we change it to, if you could change something right now in your personal life, what would you change? Because that was going to be my follow-up question, but you kind of already answered.
Yeah, I would, just to finish up on that, if I do nothing else over the next 4 years, I'm going to see what we can do about, I understand the need for stormwater regulations, but we need to be treated as if we're Port Angeles and not as if we're Seattle or Bellevue.
We would like to thank Peninsula Area Public Access for the use of their studio for our Meet Your New City Council interviews. If you would like more information about Peninsula Area Public Access, go to their website, www.papaonline.tv, to get more information about programming, memberships, and contact info. If you have any news you would like us to cover, you can contact us at info@portangeles-news.com or by going to our Facebook page at Port Angeles News. Thank you for watching this broadcast of Port Angeles News. This concludes our broadcast. Until next time.